Welcome to Nick on Knicks, where your boy N.I.C rants about the most recent Knick game. 121-91, the Knicks win Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals. They now lead the series 3-2 and will be looking to close it out in Game 6 in Indiana. Most likely at 7 Eastern. Hasn't officially come out. I've seen some people say that that's what time they think the game is going to be, but it is still TBD. But we think most likely it's going to be at 7 o'clock. The Knicks have a chance to close it out. What a win tonight. The Knicks get the most complete win that they've had in this entire playoffs thus far, okay? They win every single quarter. They win by a clean 30 points. And they get contributions up and down the entire board from everybody who played significant minutes. Now, we had some guys get in for some garbage time. As I've said before, anytime we can see a Shake Milton sighting, most likely that's a good thing. We got to be getting blown out by a lot, and that did happen in Game 4. But the Knicks obviously took that personally, and they came out and they took care of business tonight. First thing we got to talk about is Tom Thibodeau making an adjustment to the starting lineup. Deuce McBride being inserted in place of Precious Achiuwa. He comes in. He plays the shooting guard. DiVincenzo moves up to the 3. Josh Hart now plays the 4. And you have Hartenstein at the 5. Obviously, Brunson starting at the 1. And I saw more than a few people calling for this after Game 4 and that absolute debacle. And quite frankly, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe we needed to, switch something up. But you saw immediately why this lineup poses a lot more problems and is a lot more effective against the Pacers. First and foremost, we're able to guard the 3 with a smaller, quicker lineup. I thought we did a much better job after the first few minutes. We'll talk about the first few minutes. The Knicks actually did start off this game a little bit sluggish. And even with about 5 minutes left in the first quarter, they were trailing by 5 or 6 points at the time. And then they kind of turned it on. And other than a couple small lapses here and there, they basically dominated the rest of this game. But in that first quarter, you could see, especially once we started to turn up the D a little bit, that with that smaller lineup, first and foremost, we were able to contest threes. We were able to close up airspace. And then also we were able to start playing full court pressure defense against them. And that I thought was huge. I thought that was something that we hadn't done all game. We showed them a different wrinkle. They didn't know exactly how to deal with it. It's something they've been doing to us. So, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Them being the gander at this point. And it was up to us to come out and switch something up. And that's exactly what we did. Deuce, we needed you, Deuce, and you stepped up. Huge game for Deuce McBride. His energy was infectious. He was in passing lanes. He was bothering dribblers. He was hitting his shots from deep. 3 of 7 from behind the arc. 17 points overall. Only 1 turnover. He had 4 big assists. Getting to the rim, finishing, making layups, getting out in front. I just thought Deuce played fantastic tonight. I thought his energy was great. His defense on Haliburton was great. And, he did exactly what we need from him. 40 big minutes. He was a huge factor. Second best plus minus on the team with a plus 26 after Jalen Brunson's plus 31. Deuce, we need it. We need it again one more time from you in Game 6 on the road. Can you repeat that type of performance? And, sometimes it's about hitting shots. Sometimes it's just about making an effort and, not letting a guy like McConnell outplay you, not getting stripped in the backcourt, not, throwing the ball away and getting it out of your hand like it's a hot potato when you're on offense. And it seems like you have no desire to handle the ball with any type of pressure. I thought that we saw some of those things that make you nervous about Deuce in the regular season at certain points. And then in this game, we saw the Deuce that makes you feel like, quickly, who? It makes you feel like we have a great backup guard for years to come at an extremely team-friendly deal. So please, Deuce, give me more. I need more of the Deuce that I saw tonight. Thought he was absolutely fantastic. That full court press and the overall Knicks defensive pressure, it added up to 18 turnovers for the Pacers. Thought that was absolutely huge. We, on the other hand, only had 9 turnovers. If the Knicks force 18 and they only commit 9 turnovers themselves, they're going to win. They're going to win games like that when we take care of the ball and we're playing that type of defense. But, to start out this game, you didn't immediately have that warm, fuzzy feeling because at the very beginning, we were not playing good defense. They were getting wide open threes. They were getting layups. And I was just absolutely mystified to how this team, especially coming off that embarrassment in game 4, could come out so lax in the first quarter. Josh Hart early on killing us, turning down wide open threes, couple silly turnovers. He had some bad positioning on offense where, it was Ragu who had the ball on the wing and he had the ball in the corner and he wasn't in a position where he was going to be able to catch and shoot. And like I said, he had been turning those down early on in the game. And then it seemed clear to me, and it seemed like Ragu wanted him to just clear out and like run the baseline so he had a little bit more room to operate. Essentially, he was letting one player guard 2 people. And Josh Hart, who's typically a smart basketball player, early on in the game, both his smarts and his overall energy, which is something you never question with that guy, had me a little bit worried. I was like, yo, Josh, come on, man. And, he looked a little bit listless. I mean, maybe for the first time ever. And then all of a sudden, he goes ahead and he flips the switch. With about 6.5 left, he hits a 3 confidently, steps right into it, hits it. I'm pretty sure it was off a pass from Jalen Brunson. Then he starts being aggressive. He starts going to the basket. Now we saw him playing some defense, and now we see him getting some rebounds. And Josh Hart is back to being himself. He ends up overall having a very solid game: 18 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, plus 21. Of course, he had a block. He always mixes in a block. Only 2 offensive rebounds, so that's not a ton for him. But today he was playing power forward more so, and therefore playing against bigger guys. So he's not going to be able to exploit the other team's small forward on the glass quite as much. Guarding Siakam is no easy task. I thought he did a good job against Siakam. He was trying his best to not let Siakam catch the ball too close. When Siakam catches it close, Josh Hart's going to have a tough time. But he's going to continue to battle. He is a guy that can guard him, and we don't necessarily have to bring a second player. He's not as long and as rangy as OG, but he always gives the effort, and it was great to see him, really, really, really have, force Siakam into a tough game overall. Siakam did end up with 22 points on 7 of 15. He did his free throws tonight, 6 of 7, which he's been struggling with those all postseason. And he did have 8 rebounds. So when you look at Siakam's game and you look at the box score, you say, yeah, that's a pretty decent game. But if you watch the game, Siakam had his moments, but it wasn't like he was dictating pace and like he was getting buckets to stop runs or, getting buckets to get them over the hump. He seemed to just be, kind of filling in and having his little spurts, but overall, he didn't dominate in any type of way. And I thought a lot of that had to do with Josh Hart and the defense that he played and the team defense that the Knicks played overall. The defense in the first quarter, like I said, when it first started, it just wasn't enough. And overall in the first quarter, we gave up 32 points. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. We have to play better defense than that. Luckily, we, on the other hand, scored 38. Now, 38. At the beginning of that quarter, we offensively were a little disjointed. Brunson was missing some shots. And then Brunson, from the second half of the first quarter through the end of the first half, so that last quarter and a half of the first half, he just goes nuclear. He's unbelievable. He, immediately when we're down by like 5, you could see that we came out of a timeout and both he and Josh Hart took it upon themselves. I think Josh Hart, like I said, he hit that 3 confidently. He had a really good drive to the rim. And then Brunson starts, getting in his bag, getting in the lane, hitting floaters, hitting mid-range jump shots. It doesn't matter who's guarding him. And then he ends up having 10 points in that first quarter. Like I said, a lot of those points coming in the second half of that first quarter. And then the Knicks score 38. They go up behind a bunch of offensive rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein, we're going to talk a little bit more about him, but he, around the midway point of that first quarter, started to really get after it on the glass, get us some extra possessions. And I thought that's what turned that corner around. And then we finished that quarter strong. And then in the second quarter, Jalen Brunson just absolutely takes over. He has 18 points in the second quarter. He's absolutely unstoppable, hitting them from deep, getting all the way to the rim, putting guys on his shoulder and getting post-up moves. Mid-range, he's a 4-level scorer. A 4-level scorer everywhere on the floor, at the rim, in the paint, mid-range, behind the arc. He can do it all. I thought that Brunson had another masterful game. Of course, he hits 40 points one more time, fifth time in the playoffs, most since LeBron James did it a few years back. I forget what year. Who cares? He had 44 points. He had 7 assists. He's 2 of 6 from behind the line, shoots over 50% from the field. A guy his size shooting that volume at that type of efficiency is crazy. Stop comparing him to Iverson. Iverson was not this efficient. And I know that, that was like a one-man show with, a bunch of good defensive players. I don't really see the comp. I think that this team has a little bit more firepower on offense outside of the point guard position. And I think that Brunson is an extremely more efficient player than Iverson. And as this playoff run goes along, and we see him put up 40 night after night, you got to realize that there's no comps, that this is the type of playoff run that people will compare other players to in the future. But what he's doing right now, there's no comparison. A guy his size with a team having this many injuries, this many guys going in and out of the lineup, all the adversity, the foot, this, that, well, it doesn't matter. Jalen Brunson continues to step up and be that guy. He continues to step up and have a historic run. There is no comparison. You will compare others to Brunson someday, but right now he's doing it on a level that you've never seen before, especially when you consider the size, which everybody talked about, specifically Becky Hammond. Everybody talked about it would be the reason why he couldn't be a 1A. The circumstance, he's missing his second best player. He's missing 25, 10, and 4 all-NBA, all-star player. He's missing his third best player in OG Anunoby. He's missing 2 other rotation players in Mitchell Robinson and Bogdanovich. Come on, man. What else do you need to see from this guy? He's absolutely taking the league by storm. I don't want to hear any more front runner anymore. It's a fluke anymore. Front runner. Haliburton's a front runner. Okay. I've said it before this series. I'll continue to say it. This entire Indiana team, they are great when things are going great. But, when things get tough and things get close, this Knicks team typically is going to come out on top because we have more grit. The gritty committee, as I like to call them. And, if you go back to the one game that they won that was close in game 3, it took a Hail Mary shot by, a player who's not that good, the guy that you wouldn't necessarily think was going to be the hero. But hey, give Nembhard his due. He hit the shot. But he hit that shot, and Brunson missed some shots he typically hits. So I just don't see that I don't see that playing out often if a game is close. And I think that, in this game 6, it's going to be important that we never let them just run away and get out in front and start dancing and the crowd get crazy and get into it. Because if we keep this game close, I think we have the chance to pull it out down the stretch. And please do it, because I don't want to see this come back to the Garden. 7. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. And my heart doesn't want to see it. I don't, I can't take it. Please, please, please. Knicks, close this out in game 6, just like we did in Philadelphia in round 1. So, okay, lots more things to talk about. The whole, we dominated the offensive glass, and we dominated the rebounding battle overall in this game. And as we know, that's what the Knicks typically do. It's what we got away from when we were in Indiana. I mean, we had 68 rebounds to their 38 overall. Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, this guy, what a performance by him tonight. I think that other than Brunson, I think he's probably the most important Knick tonight. He only had 7 points, but he had 17 rebounds, 12 of them on the offensive side. And the Knicks crowd is so smart. that they were able to serenade him for getting an offensive rebound, which ended up getting kicked out, and it led to an Alec Burks three that was, one of those other times in the game where Indiana showed a little bit life, but that in the fourth quarter pretty much sealed it and made it, just an absolute wrap. And Hartenstein, man, this guy, I'm amazed by his overall game, his development. Once again, he had quite a few plays where he was making, those backdoor passes from the high post, one to McBride for a layup I can think of, and his defensive intensity, his getting to the rim and challenging shots at the rim. I thought Precious did a better job at that. Dante DiVincenzo even had a big block. Like I said before, Josh Hart had a block. And I thought all of those guys, the entire team, even Brunson, he's not going to block your shot at the top. But I thought that everybody did a much better job in this game of rotating and not being that step late and not letting them just get easy layups and dunks at the rim. I'm telling you, when we go up strong and we rotate properly on time, and therefore we are not in a bad position, we go straight up when we don't foul, we are going to, these guys, they're soft. They're not going to finish over and through you over and over and over again. They'll get sometimes. It's the NBA. You got some crazy athletes. There was that dunk in the first game on Mitch. Who was it that did that? Was it Naismith? Was it Naismith or was it Walker? Somebody banged on Mitch. It was a great dunk. They're going to get off every once in a while, but that's okay. Just keep on contesting. And a lot of the times you saw these guys, they had shots that they thought were going to be easy layups. And because we contested, they missed. And now we're running back down the court. And that's the key. When our defense gets turned up and we start getting turnovers, or we start getting shots at the rim that get challenged and we get quick kickouts, that's when our defense leads to offense. When we play with pace, Josh Hart is getting downhill. Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo are finding open spots behind the line. Precious and Hartenstein, they're trailing and getting dunks or snatching offensive rebounds, snatching their heart and giving us extra possessions. I just thought that, after that little lull in the first quarter, we came with a certain level of intensity and we were able to keep it up for most of the game. It slipped a little bit at the beginning of the third quarter. One of the most frustrating things about this Knicks team for me is how we often open third quarters it's just in somewhat of a fog. Hartenstein, I'm singing your praises. You're fantastic, my guy. But there's a point in the third quarter where it's like, Miles Turner, he's banging threes right now. You let this guy hit 3 in a row. The second and the third one, the first one, okay, I think we should be closing out on Miles Turner aggressively always. But the second and the third one, unacceptable. Got to get out there. Cannot let this guy get hot. At that point, the lead gets down to 7. After going into halftime up by 15, the lead gets down to 7. And you're like, oh, shit, man. These guys, we can't let them just come back and just do this to us, man. Come on, man. Come on. And then we score 15 straight. It's fantastic. We scored 15 straight. We, put this game right back to where it feels like it's out of reach. And after that, it never got to the point where I was very nervous. I think it got down to 13, maybe 12 after that one time. But, we overall were able to control this game and make it our most comfortable win of the entire playoffs so far. Not just by overall end score, but just by the fact that, in the fourth quarter, it was never really close. And we were able to, even get some guys in for some garbage time at the end, which, is always a lovely sight. Whenever you can do that in a playoff game. And now we go into game 5. Brunson looked more like his old self. His shots were not falling up short. He looked like he had a little bit more bounce. He was going to the rim and, jumping off either foot and finishing through contact. Brunson looked more like himself, and he was able to get through this game without looking like he re-injured anything or aggravated or, he looks like he's good. And huge extra day. Games on Tuesday, next game, not until Friday. All these other games have been every other day in this series with this Knicks team and the minutes we're forced to play with all of the guys that we have out and with Brunson being somewhat nicked up. I think us getting an extra day between now and game 6 is huge. I think that's huge. Very, very happy for that. And man, the offensive rebounding, once again, we dominate. We absolutely dominate. Offensive rebounds, they as a team had 5. We as a team had 20. Okay, so if we are going to have 75% more than you, then we're probably going to do pretty well. Now that in this next game, they're NBA players too. They're going to be embarrassed. They're going to go out of their way to put an emphasis on that at the beginning. We are going to have to just stick with it and wear them down and get the huge offensive rebounds when it really counts. And especially, hopefully, to close out the game late in Indiana on Friday. If you're rocking with your boy, hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is, a real straight to the point, quick recap of the game. It's going to be in your inbox the morning after Knicks games for the rest of the playoffs and starting with next season. Wake up. You hype off the game. You go to sleep. If you're like me, when you wake up, it's one of the first things that you think about. If not the first, sometimes I think about my wife and kids first, but sometimes it's the Knicks. I got to be real. But yeah, wake up and while you're on your way to work, while you're getting your day started, come check out Nick on Knicks. We got the other podcast on the network, the He Did This to Me podcast. It's me and my pops. We talk Knicks, we talk Mets, we talk Jets. It's called He Did This to Me because I inherited all of these fandoms from my dad. And we get the perspective from the old man. We get the perspective from me. We have guests sometimes. We got a big guest coming up this week, special guest. I'll leave that as a surprise. And then also, we talk about what's going on in sports. What are the biggest stories in sports? Sometimes we talk about some things like that or historical where he might have a little bit more input, but check that out for sure. But getting back into this Knicks game, man, it was so, it was validating to me after that last game and these last 2 games. We lose OG, and you kind of feel like, is this the straw that breaks the camel's back? Is this just the one thing? It's just like, okay, it's just too much to overcome. If OG is totally healthy, I think we sweep these dudes. After the way the games 1 and 2 looked, I think we sweep them. After the way that we lost game 3, close. It was a tie game with less than a minute to go. Give me some OG, and especially with the way OG was playing in game 2, 28 points in less than 30 minutes. I think we sweep these dudes, but we lose OG and his team, next man up. And I know there's a lot of Knicks fans like me that kind of felt like, hey man, we're playing with house money at this point. There's only so much we can overcome. I have faith in this team. I have faith that they can come out here and they can make it happen because, I saw them play with the same lineup that they're playing without Julius Randle, without Mitchell Robinson, without OG. I saw them play with that in the regular season, and they were able to hold it down enough to be able to get up to 50 wins once we started to get OG back, even without Julius for, most of the whole second half of the season, basically. And you start to kind of feel like after game 4 where we get blown out and, Siakam is getting us, we don't have OG and, you start to kind of feel like, all right, man, maybe this is just too much. Maybe it's just too much for these guys to overcome. And you start thinking about, next year and like, man, if we could just be healthy, what we can do. But, if you've really been watching this team all season, then you know that we can't ever count these guys out. Okay. They'll never count themselves out. I know that much. And typically when they have a bad loss, especially if they lose big, they typically always come back strong with a certain level of focus in that next game. And that's exactly what they did. They came out strong. They came out ready. And now we're at a point again where you're one win away from getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. And, hopefully we can get OG back at some point. Who knows? Listen, we can't let's worry about winning this next game. Let's worry about closing it out on Friday. And then we can start worrying about what's the prognosis with OG and will he be back? As we know as Knicks fans, we're never going to know exactly what the prognosis is. I love you, Leon Rose, but the Leon Rose regime is far when it comes to wanting to know exactly what injury your guy has, or when his potential return date is. Leon, that ain't easy. We don't do that. So that's what it is. we're going to have to see. Your man Starks was hyped once again on the baseline. He's on the floor. He's slapping Josh Hart. He's talking shit to TJ McConnell. And, I love Starks, man. Like, he's my favorite. He might be my favorite all-time Knick. Like, when I really look at it, if you look at, Ewing, he was so great for so many years. But Starks, guy made one all-star team. He's a sixth man for a lot of his career, and not ever some great player. His jersey's not getting retired. He's on nobody's all-time anything list, except for Knicks fans when you ask them who's their favorite Knick of all time. If they lived through the 90s, he's probably on their list, and it's because of the type of energy and exuberance that you see from him when he's just watching the game. Popcorn in hand, slapping Josh Hart on the back, like I said, and talking shit to TJ McConnell. It seemed pretty good-natured. They were both smiling, but at one time, like, Starks did reach out and tap him or whatever. Like, if I was watching this and it was in Indiana and, I don't know, Dale Davis was talking shit to Deuce McBride and slapping him on the chest, it would annoy me. I'd be like, stop touching my guy and sit your ass down, Dale Davis. But Starks is our guy, so I love it. Starks, you had Marbury. He's been super hype in the playoffs this season on the sidelines, standing right next to Starks. We had they call them the uncles. I've heard the uncles. I saw LJ. I saw Melo down there. I saw a great picture of Brunson and Patrick Ewing embracing after the game. Nobody understands what Brunson's going through more than Patrick Ewing, and nobody's ever been able to put it on their shoulders like Patrick Ewing did back then until Jalen Brunson. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Listen, man, this team is special. We got a chance to close it out. And, Brunson, just the 44 points overall, fifth in 40-point game in the playoffs, 18 in that second quarter. That's where we can seize control of that game pretty much from good. He did miss a few shots late. The game was out of hand, but the shots he typically takes, I'd like to think he gets that out of his system so he can hit those here in this next game. He missed some shots late in game 4 as well. But overall, another masterclass from this guy. He, it's huge, like I said, that he gets that extra day of rest between now and game 6. So big. And, whether or not he's a superstar, I think that conversation has been put to bed. Tyrese Haliburton. We got to get to him real quick. We got to talk about Haliburton real quick because, if we go back to the beginning of the year, always talk about Haliburton and how good he is and how he's arrived and how he's made a jump. And then he's a starter on the All-Star team. Brunson ends up getting voted in as a reserve. Then as the season goes on, Brunson has a much better season than him, but everybody wants to talk about Haliburton coming into this series. And whenever he does anything, has a big game, it seems like, all these different guys in the media can't stop, slobbing all over this dude. No pause, because it's kind of, they slobbing. And I'm like, yo, he's not, he's good. He's a very good player. Okay. He's a very good player. Is he anywhere close to Brunson? I don't even think that's a question. But now I'm like, yo, man, there's a couple games in this series where I got questions. 5 of 9? He shoots 9 shots, 5 of 9. He's 13 points, 5 assists. He's turning down layups. Stan Van Gundy called him out for it in the game where he's got a layup, and instead of trying to take it, he's trying to kick it out. He hits that 3 early, his first shot, and I'm screaming at the TV because my thing is like, you cannot let this guy just catch and shoot threes. He killed us on that in Indiana in both of those games, and we made it way too easy for him. That was too much airspace. He's got that stupid delivery. If you get up on him, he's not getting it off. Make him put the ball on the floor and get around you, especially in the half court. Make him put the ball on the floor in the half court and get to the rim and lay the ball up on somebody. I don't see him do that often. And I'd much rather see him attempt that with our bigs closing and, helping, as opposed to us sagging off of him and letting him shoot threes. I know he didn't shoot threes so well the second half of the season, but at the end of the day, you see him do it It shouldn't take 2 games of him doing it for us to make an adjustment. And then when we let him shoot that first 3 pretty much wide open and he makes it to start off the game, I'm screaming at the TV. I'm so annoyed, but it did seem like we tightened it up after that. I did not see him shoot one other wide open 3 for the rest of the game. We put the clamps on him. We played really good defense on him. Deuce had great defense on him. I saw Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, but specifically Deuce, I thought did a great job defending him in this game. And, that's another thing that happens when you make this lineup change. And I think it's going to be something that pays dividends for us in game 6 on Friday. Obviously, we're going to stick with this lineup. And I just think it makes things, it speeds us up a little bit and slows them down a little bit. And I think that that's huge. And hopefully we can do that same thing in Indiana. It's going to be tough. Their crowd's going to be loud. They're going to be extremely hype. And, we're going to see if we can come out and we can weather that storm. And if we can handle this, just take care of business and handle this and put them out of their misery, send them home. Doesn't matter who we're missing. Next man up, as Tibbs would say, we have enough to get the job done. That Brunson, that reverse late where he got fouled and he put it up, pass from Hartenstein. There was that, and there was the Burks 3 that both kind of felt like, because both of those times they started to get a couple buckets. The score was still pretty much in hand, but those were 2 ones that kind of felt like backbreakers and kind of felt like, okay, that's it. I start to feel comfortable. As a Knicks fan, you don't let your guard up until you absolutely can. You're always a little bit nervous, but tonight we were able to take care of business. We were able to not let it get to a point where all of a sudden it's 2 minutes left and it's a 3-point game. We were able to avoid all of that. And, I thought that the Pacers didn't seem like they showed a lot of fight late. And I think that that's what they will do always if you hit them in the mouth first. And they're going to pop back up. They're definitely going to come at you with a run, but they're not going to continue to come back. Like we've seen this Knicks team do so much in this entire season. The Pacers are not built like that. They're front runners. And they're really good at front running. That's the thing. They are really good at the whole front running thing. When they can do that, they're good at it. They're good at pouring it on. But, when you can keep them out of transition, when you can rebound the ball, when you can continually close the airspace on the 3-point shooters and make their guys at the rim have to finish through contest, all of a sudden, it seems like the air gets sucked out of the room a little bit for them. And it seems like that's where that's where the Knicks thrive. Miles Turner, he just seems so fugazi to me. The whole thing with him and Ragu, Ragu looks at him and is like, who the fuck are you? I think he said, who the fuck are you, bitch? Or what are you going to do? I think I saw him mouth as well. I just don't think Miles Turner is really built like that. And, he is a guy that occasionally he will get off and start hitting some threes. Other than that, he might have a weak side block every once in a while, but he's not the impactful player that you would think he should be with the level of skill that he possesses. And I've talked about this a lot because there's been a lot of people. If you're a Knicks fan, around the deadline, his name is floated quite often as a guy that the Knicks might be interested in. And I don't see it, man. I don't like my big man being a guy who floats around the 3-point line. Give me my big man being a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson who man the paint both on the glass and defensively, and don't need plays run for them, and can occasionally, when it comes to Hartenstein, give you a little bit on the offensive end as well. And Hartenstein, whether he scores or not, his ability to move the ball is just invaluable for this team. Another 5 assists tonight. So even if he's not scoring and putting it in the basket, he is not only getting you extra possessions on the glass, but he's getting you good, clean looks with his passing ability. His passing ability is screen setting. I thought we did a much better job of setting screens for Jalen Brunson today. Strong screens. Deuce McBride is a surprisingly strong screener for, a small guy. He's a football player, former football player, and he's a strong kid. So it's actually not that surprising. You just don't see too many guys who set screens that have as good of results as Deuce does. Thought he did great tonight. And I just thought that the whole Knicks team not being afraid to mix it up, I thought was important because these guys have been chirping and talking shit and doing all this. And, I thought the fact that the first incidents was there was a few different times where, guys got nose to nose. There's so many stoppages early. And I thought that played to our advantage because we have guys who are playing huge minutes. I'm looking at Brunson and I'm like, yo, Brunson, he at one point he got like a 2-minute he got like a 2-minute rest, and because there was like a timeout on both sides, and then there was like some sort of stoppage where guys were beefing or some shit. Yo, he ended up like having like 10 minutes of rest. I was like, that's what's up. We needed that. I like that. Good. Get some stoppages. Go to the freaking monitor and look at it, please. But no, I thought that early on you had Jackson getting, I think he said a hard screen on Ragu, and your boy Hartenstein, he took offense to it, got up in his face to face, and then, he's there, and then Alec Burks comes up and backs up Hartenstein, mushes the guy in the face a little bit. We end up getting there's been a total of 3 technicals, one more for the Knicks, so they get the one shot. Give me your one shot. That's fine. Let these motherfuckers know that we not scared, all right? And I'm always, I've been screaming about, I've been begging for this for the Knicks all year. I'm always a big proponent. In big men, when one of your guards gets hit hard by a big man, you at the very least got to go run up and get in that dude's face and tell him that shit ain't going to fly no more. You have to do that. We have to do that, okay? Our big men have to do that, and I thought they did a great job of protecting their guys tonight, and just overall, we played fantastic. How about your boy Alec Burks? The consummate professional. 18 points off the bench. He goes from the doghouse to the penthouse. 3 very, very effective games in a row. 2 in Indiana, 1 back at the Garden. He has, like I said, 18 points overall, another 5 rebounds, 5 of 8 from behind the arc. He was the best player dribbling the ball up against the pressure of the Pacers that I've seen for the entire Knicks in this entire series, or maybe even against Philly. That's something that we struggle against with the full court pressure. Even better at it than Brunson. I thought that Alec Burks played fantastic tonight. Man, I've given that guy so much flack. He came over to the Knicks. He immediately just, fell off from his numbers that he had in Detroit. Obviously, you go through a transition. The guy's got a family. I've heard this, I've heard that, blah, 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 new role, whatever. He was not playing well. He has been inserted into the lineup and gotten big minutes in these last 3 games due to the fact that OG got hurt amongst all the other injuries that we have. And so, you know what now, Burks? We need you, brother. And he's come through. He's come through. Consummate professional, hitting big shots. The shot's not quite so line drive. He's not firing them up every time he gets the ball. He's moving the ball. He's making sure that you get the ball back to Brunson. Alec Burks, I think one of the problems is last time he played with the Knicks, he's playing with Elfrid Payton. This ain't Elfrid Payton, bro. This Jalen Brunson. Get him the rock. And he's doing that. But when he does get the ball and he gets it in a good position, he's taking the shot. He's being strong with the ball. He's being stronger with the ball. He's too loosey-goosey with the ball when he first got to the Knicks. He seems like he's being stronger with the ball. His shot's got a little bit more arc on it. He's moving the ball and trusting the pass. And he's just been playing much, much better. And you know what? You got to give this guy credit for the fact that he stayed ready. He stayed ready. And when his number's been called, he's come out and he's gotten it done. Bravo, Alec Burks. We needed it in the worst way. And you have stepped up just immensely in these last 3 games. To not play at all. I think he played 44 seconds before game 3. And in these last 3 games, he's played over 20 minutes in every single game. And he's had, I think he's had up to like close to 60 points in the 3. I mean, come on, man. Alec Burks, bravo, man. Bravo. I got to give you your props because I talked a ton of mad shit. I talked mad shit about you. I called you Alec Bricks. Hey, man. I got to eat my words. I don't got to eat my words because what I was saying, he sucked. But, he stepped up and he's done it now. And I'm forever thankful, Alec, my guy. I appreciate you, brother. He's been fantastic. Tibbs, quite a few adjustments. And shout to my man, Frank Barrett. Yo, man, Frank Barrett is of one of my favorite guys on Twitter, because he comes with like really cool like statistical analysis, and he breaks things down at a level that I think is, a little bit more highbrow than the average dude on Twitter. He's the co-founder and the co-host of the Hot Hand Theory. He contributes to the Strickland and a few different other podcasts and websites. And the other thing I like about Frank is that Frank and I have disagreed on things on Twitter, and he's one of those guys that you can get in a disagreement with, and it never gets like wild disrespectful or name called or anything like that. It's just two people who both think they know ball and maybe don't necessarily agree on everything. But wow, I mean, I got to give this guy credit. I got the tweet up right now. He said, here are my game 5 and beyond solutions. Number 1, get OG back. He is paramount to this team's ceiling. I think we can all agree with that. Number 2, nuke the precious power forward minutes. Start with I-Hart on Siakam and J-Hart on Turner. Number 3, lean on the Dante weak side P&R more. That's pick and roll for you casuals. Number 4, get into offense earlier and run more. And number 5, attack Haliburton. 5 for 5. 5 for 5. Credit to Tibbs for making the adjustments. Credit to Frank Barrett for seeing the adjustments before they happen and calling them out, and he was spot on. Those are the things that we needed to do. We did them, and it led to a 30-point New York Knicks win. So, bravo all around, Frank Barrett. It's at Frank Barrett 119 on X, and shout to Tibbs for making the adjustment. Tibbs is out Coach Carlisle this series. He just has, man. You can't. He just has. It's just straight up and down. He's outcoached him. Even after last game, he still doesn't complain about the refs. He continues to just coach his guys up and have a mindset that no matter what happens, we're going to continue to play a certain way. We're going to play together. And if we do those things, we have a chance to win. You hear Brunson and he speaks in Tibbs speak. Even as I listen to myself sometimes, I'm like, I'm just regurgitating different Tibbs phrases because I at this point, I've listened to this guy so much, and I love listening to his press conferences, even though he doesn't give up much, just because I respect his overall process and the way that he goes about things. And there's been a lot of talk about Tibbs here recently. Okay. You have the Chandler Parsons, which I don't know why anybody cares what he has to say exactly. I don't know, but why do you care what I have to say? But at the end of the day, Chandler Parsons and quite a few people are all saying that Tibbs is running these guys into the ground, and that's why we're dealing with all these injuries. It is the stupidest argument. I mean, it's just there's so many things about it when you look at the type of injuries that we've had. When you look at the overall minutes per game of our players, when you look at the way that our teams finish, typically 600 winning percentage in the last 20 games by Tibbs. When you look at the way this team played tonight and the way they've played throughout the playoffs, did this team look like they were out of gas tonight to you? Did they look like the team without enough energy? Because to me, it looked like they were the team that brought the energy to their opponent and were able to get a pivotal Game 5 win. So all of that is just nonsense. And I think smart basketball people who don't just like narratives, and people who don't like to just regurgitate something because it's easy and they're not lazy with their takes, they know that it's nonsense. And Josh Hart, he talked about it for like a minute in his press conference today, saying exactly that people like to have narratives and like to do this and that, but the Knicks, he says, we practice less than any team that I've ever seen. We're not out here, full contact and having, guys run at each other nonstop. He says he's the most rested he's ever been at the end of a season playing on this team. So a lot of that narrative is silly. And when it comes to the playoffs, all great players and all starters and on good teams in the playoffs, they play lots of minutes. Stan Van Gundy made the point that Vince Carter averaged 45 minutes a game in one playoffs when he was with the Raptors. All right, maybe I don't know if it was the Raptors or it was with the Nets, But yeah, man, Ewing would average in the high 40s. This is what these guys do. What do you guys want? You guys want more Shake Milton minutes? No, we can't do that. Okay. And everybody's giving this guy such a hard time. I implore any Knicks fan, go and find the article. It was written by Tim Keown. It's Keown. He's an ESPN senior writer. It came out today about Tom Thibodeau, and it says the title is Tom Thibodeau finally found common cause with Knicks. Will it be enough? And it's an excellent article. It talks about Tibbs and, just gives you a little bit more of his origin story. Tibbs was kind of jacked back in the day. They got a picture of Tibbs on the beach, man, when he was in college. And your boy got some shoulders on him. They say he was an absolute physical specimen, was a shooter, had a wrist injury, and then became like a Kevin McHale type with a bunch of crazy post moves. They say LJ might have learned some of those post moves once he didn't have the spring anymore, when he was no longer Grandma Ma from Tibbs, who was the assistant coach on some of those teams. But it's a great article about Tibbs. Gives you a little bit more insight onto him, his story, how he's come up, and how this guy just dedicates himself to the game of basketball. No family, first guy in, last guy out. All he cares about is ball, and how he almost looks at these kids, these Knicks kids, these Nova boys, and the rest of that gritty committee as, almost like they're his children. He looks at them like, somebody where he truthfully, all he cares about is making sure that they get the most out of what they can on a nightly basis, and making sure that this entire team can get the most out of themselves as they can on a nightly basis. Shout to Tibbs, man. Another great job. Another great job coaching tonight by Tom Thibodeau. Another tweet that I saw today was from my guy, Ariel De Jesus. He's Ari Hoops 84 on X. One of my guys on Twitter, one of my favorite follows. And, he and I, he always shows me love. So I appreciate that. And, he put up, are y'all still shaking ass for Obi still? All you Knicks fans who are like, yo, you see what Obi's doing? All you Knicks fans in the back of the day were saying shit like, yo, we should have traded Randall and kept Obi. Come on, man. Come on. He's not that nice, yo. He's not that nice. He had a team worst minus 25 today. He's just, at the end of the day, Obi Toppin, he's all right. He's a decent player. He occasionally, he's going to, hit some threes. He's going to get out front and get some dunks. But he's not a difference maker, man. He's not a top 10 type pick, impact player that you would want on your team. And as soon as he started talking that shit to Tibbs, you're out. You're out. And he wouldn't even get minutes on this Knicks team, even with all these injuries, because with the way that he leaks out, doesn't rebound, and then is so limited offensively where it's either a leak out dunk or a wide open three, and that's it. Make him put the ball on the floor, and he's a joke. Not that nice. Not that nice. Your guy, Big Perk, in the building, the general. Iconic photo of Brunson after hitting a shot. And then your boy, Big Perk, showing him love. Big Brody Brunson, as he likes to call him. We saw Mama Brunson in the stands. Big Perk was with Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan checked Draymond, told him to don't be talking that noise about my team. He got on the mic and said, nah, I just want to tell you, Draymond, don't be talking that noise about my team. This New York. Love Tracy Morgan. Love Tracy Morgan, yo. And, the Knicks, we continue to show up. The fans, the Garden was electric tonight. I mean, that's a given. The Garden's always going to be electric. You can hear it coming through the screen. Our celebrity fans, they're not your average celebrity fans. Guys like Tracy Morgan, guys like Ben Stiller, they come out, man, and they bleed orange and blue. These are real Knicks fans, man. These ain't just some people out here trying to get a photo op. They live for this shit. And it's, true New Yorkers, true Knicks fans, New York, New Jersey. I don't care where you at. A lot of us have moved. We're not in New York, New Jersey anymore. We got some roots there, but we all ride for this team. And that's why all across the country, you hear Knicks cheers in the in the stands and coming through on the TV, no matter where you out, because it's the best fan base in sports. It's the best fan base in sports. And I am absolutely positively very proud to be a member of it, very proud of this team, very proud of the way that we walked off the floor. Did you see the demeanor of this team, of this group as they walked off the floor? I saw a close-up of Brunson, a close-up of iHeart. Nobody's smiling. This is business, man. This is business. And we still mad about how we played in game 4. I love the fact that Isaiah Hartenstein said after game 4 that he felt like the effort that we brought tonight was not indicative. This is paraphrasing. It was not indicative of, the way that we typically play. And it didn't honor our fans and, the type of team that they expect us to be. Isaiah Hartenstein, he said that. And then he also delivered. He also came out tonight with 12 big offensive rebounds, was the most active guy on the floor, most important guy on the floor other than Jalen Brunson. And I think this team is all business and ready to go to game 5 and continue to be able to dominate this team, break their break their spirit, break their will, and get it done, man. Close out the series. One more tweet. Big Nick energy. Can we just appreciate this team and how hard they play? Most enjoyable team to watch in the last 25 years. I think all Knicks fans agree. Friday, game 6 against the Pacers. Can we get it done? I think we do. Peace.